can't say such a thing for one of the greatest players of all time. Here's what I will say to you. I already have LeBron past Kobe because there's an all-around. I think LeBron is the greatest small forward in the history of basketball, and he brings such a multitude of dimensions to the equation. The fact that, you know what, even though he's got one ring less than Kobe, considering what we've seen LeBron do, I've got LeBron number 2 all time. I will say this, though. When we talk about him compared to Michael Jordan, there is such a thing called an assassin's mentality. I can take those first 8 years of LeBron James' career, those first 7, 8 years, and that's what I would use to hold against him in terms of the all-time GOAT. Because what he has ultimately developed, it took him all of that time to do, whereas MJ came into the league with that mentality. He just didn't have the personnel to go along with him, with Scottie Pippen catching migraines in Game 7 of an Eastern Conference Finals and stuff like that. You see what I'm saying? So I can't look at LeBron and a performance against the Dallas Mavericks. I can't look at LeBron and 6 NBA Finals losses on his resume and say, excuse me, I'm just going to ignore all of that and give him GOAT status, greatest of all time, over Michael Jordan. And that blasphemy you just uttered out of that mouth with those goggles spinal gleeve that you can't see the hideous nature of your words. I'm going to give you a chance to correct yourself right now, Chuck. Right now.
I'm going to correct myself. If LeBron James is able to beat the Phoenix Suns, I don't even know who they play. Whoever they play in the second round, beat the Utah Jazz or the Clippers, get to the finals. And if he's able to beat the Brooklyn Nets, first of all, I got Milwaukee winning the East. But if he's able to win the championship this year, I think we got to have a serious conversation. We really do.
Hold on. Now, Greeny, I would like to remind you, and don't just bring up your cup and sit back and kick up your fly shoes, Greeny. Listen to what he's saying here. So we got a Phoenix Suns team that's got my coach of the year, that's got an MVP candidate in Chris Paul, no doubt. Devin Booker's a star, but they're a relatively young team that Chuck has already conceded, can be beat by these Lakers because it's an easier matchup for the Lakers than Utah. We got that going on. We look at the Utah Jazz. As formidable as they are, as exceptionally well coached as they are, they just got bounced out in the first round last year. They've got something to prove, so they're relatively young. We look at, Mr. Load Management himself and Kawhi Leonard and the Los Angeles Clippers, who've never even made it to a conference finals in franchise history. We look at the Dallas Mavericks. Kristaps Porzingis can't stay healthy. A feather touches him, and he's on the injured list. We've got Denver that no longer has Jamal Murray. You've got Portland that's a relatively guard-oriented team. They've got talent, but we all know that some things missing. Don't get me started offensively. And we got Steph Curry without Klay Thompson. That's the West that you're talking about, okay? And then the Eastern Conference, Kyrie, James Harden, and Kevin Durant have played 8 games together. We know how formidable they are offensively, but defensively, they put you to shame, Charles Barkley. They ain't think about playing no damn defense. And you're trying to tell me that if LeBron gets through all of that, that puts him above Michael Jordan? Are you nuts?
I didn't say put him above. I said we need to have a serious conversation about
what we got to talk for? What we got to talk for?
Hey, he's got to listen. He's going through a gauntlet. They're going to play all those series on the road.
Oh, really? Oh, you mean on the road with 50% capacity in the audience? You mean that? You mean that road? That road environment?
Hey, listen, and let me say this: if LeBron is able to beat, like I say, I'm picking Milwaukee in the East. I want to make that clear. But if LeBron is able to beat KD, James Harden, and Kyrie, that would be impressive, Stephen A. That would be impressive.
It would be impressive. I'll give that to you. But again, it's not going to elevate him to GOAT status. That's all I'm saying. I'm saying.
I did not. Hey, listen, first of all, I said we need to rethink and have a serious conversation about that.
Can I ask you this question, Greeny? Let me step in. I'm sorry to be mediator here, but I got to ask Chuck this because I can't let him get away with this. Chuck, I've religiously brought this up with Isaiah, with you, with MJ and others. Magic too. When are we going to remind ourselves of the appreciation we need to have about the level of competition guys like yourself had to go against compared to today's game. It's soft as putty. You've religiously pointed out how soft the game is called. You can get called for a foul for having bad breath, for crying out loud. Lord knows how many games Dennis Rodman would have fouled out of with today's rules, with the antics that he engaged in. The level of softness in today's game compared to how y'all played. I'm not talking about the players. I'm talking about how the game is called.
Well, first of all, I think, listen, you can only knock the people down who are in front of you. Listen, I'm telling you this. If he's able to beat the Suns on the road, that would be a big – I mean, obviously the Lakers are going to be favored. But I don't think they're going to beat Utah, and I don't know if they're going to beat the Clippers. And let me tell you something. If they can beat the Brooklyn Nets, that would be impressive. They got probably the 3 best one-on-one players in the game today. Those 3 guys, they are the 3 best one-on-one players in the world probably. And if they're able to beat those guys, you got to give them guys their credit, especially that at LeBron's age, AD's, you talk about can't stay healthy. What about AD? I mean, so LeBron, if he's able to win the championship, listen, I'm not going to put anybody above Michael Jordan.
Okay.
But I tell you what, I can see how people would do it is my point, Stephen A.
Let me hold this thought a minute here, guys. And let me just very quickly say, LeBron's path, he may wind up having to beat on his way to a championship Steph Curry, Chris Paul, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, James Harden, Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Durant. That's 7 players who will wind up in the Hall of Fame. That would be a pretty good run if he winds up doing it. Let me hold that thought a minute. We'll take a quick break on that.
LeBron James, I tell you that much, all right? And I think that the Lakers will win tomorrow, and I think they will win in great fashion.
Now, by great fashion, Kendrick Perkins, did you mean a close game, or you thought they were going to run away with it? How nervous were you at halftime?
I was really nervous, but you know what? I knew that the Lakers were going to hang their hats on their identity, though, Neil. Their identity is on the defensive end. You know that, right? Coach Frank Vogel. Forget LeBron James, forget Anthony Davis. They had a C-plus performance tonight. But Frank Vogel and what he did in his rotations, throwing in Wesley Matthews, throwing in Alex Caruso, who was on Steph Curry heels like a pair of socks tonight, right? Putting in those others in those lineups to get those defensive stops, I thought was huge. I thought Coach Frank Vogel did an excellent job with his rotations and coaching tonight. He is the reason that the Lakers won this game.
Yeah, Lakers' #1 defense, and they turned on the defense in the second half. So now they've got the Suns. Mm-hmm. You look at Lakers' Suns. What's your first impression?
Look, I know Chris Paul is in the MVP conversation. Monty Williams, Coach of the Year. DeAndre Ayton and Devin Booker, future young superstars. But Lakers in 6.
Lakers in 6.
Lakers in 6.
Now, Golden State's got one more chance to hit that 8 seed and face Utah, but they're coming up against a young, hungry group of Grizz who beat the Spurs. Where do you see that game going?
Well, Neil, you know, I just said it, right? You just ran it on the TV screen that I would never go against the light-skinned brother from the Bay Area with the green eyes. But guess what? I'm going against them. I'm taking the Memphis Grizzlies. I'm flipping the script. Yes, I am. I'm going with Ja Morant and Dillon Brooks, one of the most underrated backcourts in the NBA. And I'm also going with big Giannis Valanciunas. He's a beast down low. So is Jaren Jackson. I know I flipped the script on you just now, but the conversation we had before we came on the set, you and Linda made me think about a whole lot of things. And this Memphis Grizzlies team has been here before, and they are ready, and they want all the smoke.
And I feel powerful. All right, Pacers, Wizards. Who's going to get the 8 seed and get the 76ers?
I keep flip-flopping because, listen, earlier today on the jump, I said I was going with the Pacers because it's a bonus. Then I had to send the paperwork back to underwrite, okay? And then I pulled up Russell Westbrook's stats against the Indiana Pacers, and they're through the roof. He has dominated them all season long. And we all know Russell Westbrook has that Mamba mentality. When he struggled against the Boston Celtics. So I'm expecting him to bounce back and have a phenomenal game and lead this Wizards team to victory.
So you got the Wizards winning, beating the Pacers, and then facing the 76ers. You know, if you keep flip-flopping, you're going to have to run for office. Vote for Perk! Biggest of names, Stephen A. Smith here. It's been a minute. Actually, it's been a year and a minute. All right, what's your big takeaway?
how lucky the Los Angeles Lakers are that they won this basketball game. The fact of the matter is LeBron James and Anthony Davis were far from impressive in the first half. When you look at Draymond Green and Andrew Wiggins, the defense that they were playing on LeBron James and Anthony Davis was superb, especially against Anthony Davis. I still think LeBron James wasn't 100%, but he went into his bag and handled his business in the second half, and credit due to him. With greatness comes luck. And that lucky shot with 58 seconds left, make no mistake about it, that was luck. But in the end, again, because you're so great, he's entitled to that. It was a big-time shot over Steph Curry. And you sort of look on Steph Curry's face. So what you peel from it is the fact that, again, Anthony Davis needs to get his game going, because playing like he did, if they have a first-round series against Phoenix or another playoff series against anybody else, that kind of performance is not going to work. It's not going to get you over the hump. He needs to be better. Outside of that, Steph Curry, we know he's special. We were reminded about that tonight. It was a big stage. You had the odds stacked against him. You saw the Lakers swarming him. They didn't even think about guarding anybody else in the last seconds. Just keeping the ball out of his hands and daring anybody else to shoot was their strategy, because he went into his bag all night long, and he was absolutely positively sensational. Again, he just did not have any help whatsoever when it really, really counted.
All right, you mentioned Phoenix. That's who Laker gets first round. What's your first thoughts of that matchup?
That Phoenix will lose the series. And that Phoenix will lose the series because they're relatively young. I love their athleticism. I love the leadership of Chris Paul. I love me some Devin Booker. Monty Williams is my coach of the year. They've got a squad, but they got a relatively young squad that's inexperienced. And when you're going up against the experience of a LeBron James, well, along with Anthony Davis, that has a seven-game series to prepare for you, I think it's going to be a pretty tall task for Phoenix to overcome. But I'm still looking for somebody other than those two on the Lakers to really step up. Alex Caruso hit all 5 of his shots in the first half, but shot like 1 for 7 in the second half. They reminded him of who he was, who he is, and who he's supposed to be in the second half. Kyle Kuzma, where were you? Things like that. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope hit a couple of threes early in the game, but as the games progressed, you needed to see more from him. You didn't get that. LeBron James and Anthony Davis are not going to be enough for this team to come out of the West. Somebody else is going to have to step up, because the other teams they go against aren't going to have just one weapon like Golden State had in Steph Curry. Somebody else is going to have to step up to get it done for them. And that's really what it comes down to.
Lakers are favored against the Suns. Okay, you can tell us something that very few of us know. What's it like to be back in the Staples Center watching an NBA game with fans? There was about 6,000 there. Put us inside.
It's special. It's special. No question about it. And obviously, it was an aberration because we're accustomed to seeing 18,000, 19,000 fans inside the Staples Center. We get that.